Mike Florior believes that he knows when the Chicago Bears could possibly trade the number one pick based on the timeline that they set. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk about which position groups are the strongest for the Chicago Bears on the defensive side of the ball heading into next season, and dive a little bit into the mailbag. All that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go and get into this content for today. So Mike Florior was interviewed, and he talked about kind of the timeline that the Bears had set for making a decision on their quarterback. And what he said kind of made a little bit of sense. Now, he did, and what I like to say, and the national media people did, he did present it as even saying his own bias. And we're going to go ahead and play that clip here.
When I saw Albert Breer's report from Monday that the Bears expect to have their plan in place next week at the scouting combine, my first thought was, does that mean they're trading the first overall pick? Because how can you have a final plan in place that you're going to trade Justin Fields and take Caleb Williams, if that's who they would take, until you've done all of your proper due diligence on which of the quarterbacks you would take with that first overall pick? It made me think that they're hoping to set up something like they did last year, where they trade that number one overall pick and get a lot in return, possibly a first round pick next year that becomes the number one overall pick again, like last year's did. And that may just be my bias, because I think they should keep Justin Fields. I think that they should see what his ceiling is, and they should take that huge lottery ticket that is the first overall pick and turn it into as many players as possible. Because, Rich, we know there's no guarantee that any draft pick is going to pan out. At one point last week, I looked back through the first overall picks who were quarterbacks. I'm not comfortable with that success rate. I'm not sufficiently comfortable to go all eggs in the basket. Now, maybe it works out, but I think you got a better chance to turn that pick into multiple picks and get more players and put a better team around Justin Fields.
So you heard in his own words him saying that he is biased because he does believe the Bears should hold on to Justin Fields, get that haul back for the number one overall pick, continue to build out the team. And that's what a lot of Bears fans, might be myself included, have echoed they would like to see the Bears do. But outside of that, it does make some sense that what he's saying is that if the Bears have set that timeline on making the decision for the quarterback already, that's before they really get to take an interview and sit down with a lot of these draft prospects. So what does that mean, right? Does that mean that maybe they're so confident in any one of these quarterbacks going on already from what they've seen, what they've, the tape that they've viewed, that they could be willing to move on before that? Or it could say that they are, again, Ryan Poles is, again, playing that chess game that we know that he likes to do, playing that chess match as far as kind of playing the expectations around other teams to kind of get the most back for the number one overall pick, similar to what he did last season. And that's kind of the two mindsets that Bears fans have. And besides the Justin Fields and Caleb Williams aspect of it, you have a lot of Bears fans that are looking at it and saying, well, listen, the haul that you can get back, that could turn into a number one overall pick for you again, even if Justin proves to not be the guy. And then, of course, you have the Bears fans that sit and say, there's talent here with quarterback. It's such an important position, the probably most important position in the game of football. You have to get this right with the guys that they have here. So in this year's draft, I should say. So like I said, all that makes sense depending on how you look at it and say. And so the Bears, who, reportedly, now we haven't heard that from the team. The team isn't themselves going to come out and say, you'll know who the quarterback is or what our decision is going to be by next Friday. They won't necessarily say that. But, you do have that, that thought process out there, is that the Bears may be looking to narrow that in. And, we heard earlier this week that the Bears are going to be sitting down and they're going to come out of that over this next week with their decision on the direction that they plan to go with the quarterback situation. So, we'll see what it ends up shaking out and being. Like I said, Florio, I do like that he presented it as, hey, I have my own bias. That's not what a lot of national media people do. They don't show that level of awareness in conversations, and they kind of present their thoughts as facts. And then, you kind of have the people who follow the national media kind of take that and disseminate that out and stuff like that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with it. And like I said, it was a great perspective. That's why I wanted to, put that out there. And, hopefully we do find out sooner rather than later. I think everybody is kind of exhausted with the conversation. Justin Fields already saying that he's kind of tired of it. We know that a lot of Bears fans are. And I'm sure like Shane Waldron and the new offensive staff, even though they'll know before the national public knows, right? But I'm sure that they are ready to kind of know as well and have that locked in so that they can start game planning. They have to build an offensive system. And even per what Justin Fields said yesterday in that interview with the St. Brown brothers, is saying that, he wants to look at tape. He wants to get ready for the season. And so, that applies to coaches, that applies to other players so they can know, right? And they can maybe get ready to report early after the draft so they can start building chemistry if there is a new quarterback there, or they can get to work with Justin Fields. We know he reported early last year with DJ Moore and Darnell Mooney. So I'm sure that he's ready and the guys around him are ready to just get going and to prepare, because the Bears have a season in front of them that they can make some real movement to be from this team that missed the playoffs last year, that had 7 wins, to definitely being a playoff team next year with the right moves by the front office and the right development with this new offensive staff. And if the defense keeps it up, this is definitely, a team that I think can be a playoff team as early as next season. But you guys can let me know what you think on all that down below. Now, with that said, I want to we talk a lot about new players that could come to this team, positions that we need. I want to talk about 2 of the strongest position groups that we have on this team, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. And the first one I want to talk about is the cornerback crew. Now, we know that this core of cornerbacks, we have cornerbacks that have all basically been drafted by the Chicago Bears that are developing all around the same age. Everybody, I think, is within 12 to 18 months of age with each other, from the oldest to the youngest. And when you look at it, we have a decision to make on Jalen Johnson, which we'll talk about. But when you look at this cornerback crew, you got Tyreek Stevenson, Terrell Smith, both coming into their second years. You got Kyler Gordon getting ready for his third season starting next year. And then you still got Jalen Jones and Josh Blackwell back there as depth pieces as well. Mainly they're used on special teams. But when you look at it, we moved up in the draft to get Tyreek Stevenson, a guy who came in, went through his bumps and bruises naturally as a starting rookie cornerback, and he came out on the other side of that much better. 4 interceptions, 16 pass breakups, 2 forced fumbles on the season last year, and this was a guy who Bears fans started to love more and more and more as the season went on. He has that mindset. He has that mentality. He has big game-making ability and ball-hawking ability that makes him is going to be a favorite with Chicago Bears fans as long as his development continues. Stud there. And then you look at Kyler Gordon, who last year was in his second year, moved to that nickel position, had his bumps and bruises as well, had some injury concerns, broke his hand actually in week 1, didn't return until October, but still played a really big role for the Chicago Bears, being used in both the run stop game and getting to the quarterback as well. He really had a year of playing that nickel, understanding how to do that, had 2 interceptions as well on the season, gained his nickname of Spider-Man, grew in pass coverage as well. Again, Kyler Gordon in that nickel position with another year to kind of focus on just being in that position, I think is going to do wonders for him as he continues to develop over his NFL career and be part of this core as well. And then you got to look at the depth pieces that we had. Later in the draft, we got Terrell Smith, a 5th-round pick who started 4 games for the Chicago Bears. Looked pretty damn good starting those games as well. Had his bumps and bruises as well as far as his ups and downs. Had a breakout game against Minnesota where he had 8 tackles in a victory over the Minnesota Vikings as well in that. And when you look at it, he's going to be that depth corner piece, especially if we re-sign Jalen Johnson for the Chicago Bears. But it all comes down to this as well. The Bears, to me, have to re-sign Jalen Johnson. When you look at how they've cleared the board, they've gone from the 7th most to the 3rd most cap space in the year by the players that they waived. I personally like to believe that is clearing space to either franchise tag or re-sign Jalen Johnson to a long-term deal. If you lock in Jalen Johnson, this cornerback group, you don't really have to worry about. Yeah, do you want to get some more depth pieces? That's going to happen here and there. But I think you have a foundation of those 4 pieces that we talked about. Tyreek Stevenson, Kyler Gordon, Terrell Smith, Jalen Johnson. Again, in no particular order, just because I named Johnson last. You have the depth there, as well as Greg Stroman Jr., if you decide to bring him back there as well. You have a group of cornerbacks that can grow, develop together. You don't have to worry about paying another one for another couple of years. You got to pay Jalen Johnson now. If you get him locked in, Kyler Gordon will be the next one up for an extension. You can see what you do there. I love this cornerback core. I love this position group for the Chicago Bears. And I think especially as we improve that defensive line, this cornerback core I'm not going to say it could be one of the best in the NFL, but I definitely think it could be one of the best parts of the Chicago Bears defense moving forward is that cornerback crew. Now, the next position group on the defensive side of the ball that I want to give some props to and talk about is the linebacker crew. Last year we let Roquan Smith go. And then we ended up signing Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards. We added that to what we already had in Jack Sanborn. We also drafted Noah Sewell as well. And these are players who I love the dynamic that we have here. All really young. TJ Edwards is 27. Tremaine Edmonds is 25. Sanborn is 23. Noah Sewell's 21. Right? You also have Dylan Cole, who's 29. We can look to bring back as a depth piece, and Michael Baskerville, who's there as well. So I like what Ryan Poles went out and did. Roquan left. We signed 2 amazing linebackers that didn't have enough time, well, as much time as you would like to work on their chemistry together just because of the injuries there. But again, Tremaine Edmonds had a really good season, 113 combined tackles, 4 interceptions he played 15 games. He missed 2 due to knee injury. And then you look at TJ Edwards. He had an amazing season as well, 155 combined tackles, 3 interceptions, 2.5 sacks. He played all 17 games for the Chicago Bears last season. At like this linebacking core, again, I think as you increase that defensive line and we saw them play better, we have a nice mix of hard hitters that are solid in the run game. Tremaine Edmonds hopefully can get back to being better in coverage like he was his last year in Buffalo. But I think this linebacking core is another foundational piece and a position group that you really don't have to worry about. Now, Noah Sewell played in a lot of games, mainly on special teams, but there's still untapped potential in Noah Sewell as well if the Bears do see that. But I love this linebacking core. I love what we have here. Again, setting a solid foundation. I think Dylan Cole can be brought back as well as a depth piece to be used, and we want to start working in Noah Sewell in there as well. And Jack Sanborn is kind of the guy that you look at as kind of he just gets it done, Jack Sanborn does. Now, I personally think he's better as the middle linebacker. He moved to the strong side last year. We'll see if they move him around any at all. He's kind of the one defensive player that really kind of changed positions as a whole, still in that linebacking core. But overall, I think Jack Sanborn has enough. He's smart enough. He's going to figure it out as well. But again, like I've been saying, I really like these 2 position groups. And I think when you look at that, we gotta shore up something on that defensive line. We got to hope that like a Javon Dexter, Zach Pickens do develop. But if we can get another dynamic edge, or we either sign one or draft one to be on the opposite side of Montez Sweat, you better watch out. This Chicago Bears defense, not calling them the monsters of the Midway yet or anything like that, but I do think that we can have a defense that could be good enough alone within themselves to push the Chicago Bears to potentially being a playoff team just by how good this defense can be. So let me know what you guys think. Do you agree that these are 2 of our strongest position groups on that defensive side of the ball? Do you think Montez Sweat with his addition alone makes that defensive line another one as well? I think we'll wait to the end of the free agency to see that, but I love the foundation that we have now laid here with the Chicago Bears defense, and I think it's going to be one that we really do build a playoff team off of, is having this solid foundation with this defense. Need to see more development from some players, need to see some more signings in certain areas, but outside of that, I think that this is going to be a defense that we look back on at the end of next season and we say, hey, Bears defense is back. That's what I hope for. But you guys can let me know what you think down below. But we also got 2 voicemails we're going to play today. This one's from Greedy.
Yeah, this is Greedy. And my question today is, do y'all think that since they cut Cody White here, Eddie Jackson, do y'all think the Bears are going to go aggressively after receiver and the edge rush in the free agency? And are y'all opposed to the Bears trading down the 9th pick and getting Caleb Williams and Marcel Harrison? Or do you just like Justin Fields, period? Do you feel like Justin Fields is the future of the franchise? Me, I feel like it can go either way, but I just want to know y'all opinion on that. Do you think they could sign a top receiver like a Mike Evans or Michael Pittman and still draft Marcel Harrison and get Caleb Williams? Or do you just want to see Justin Fields, them draft Marcel Harrison? And we still can not draft, but we still can sign another top receiver. So I just want to know which one y'all opinion would be on that bear down with.
Bears going after a wide receiver and still draft Marvin Harrison Jr. Here's what I'll say. I've been saying for a while that I do think the Bears are still going to sign a veteran wideout. Now, the level and caliber of the veteran wideout that they sign, I think, is going to be determined by what they plan to do with their number 9 overall pick in the draft, or if they trade the number 1 overall pick, what they do with number 2 or number 3. I think that is going to indicate what level of wide receiver the Bears sign. I don't see them signing like a big name wideout like a Mike Evans and drafting Marvin Harrison Jr., but I do think they could still get a damn good veteran wide receiver as well in free agency that you're probably looking at spending between $7 and $9 million on to bring to this team. And then you have your veterans in DJ Moore, the newly signed wide receiver, and you got your young gun in Marvin Harrison Jr. with Tyler Scott there developing as well. And that veteran wideout could still be Darnell Mooney as well if Shane Waldron really does think that he can utilize his skill set, because Luke Getsy just didn't. So I do think that that's a possibility that we sign. I think it's a likely one that we sign a veteran wideout or re-sign Darnell Mooney and still draft a wide receiver like a Marvin Harrison Jr. and Neighbors or whoever else we end up getting. Now, as far as edge is absolutely something, again, much like with the wide receiver. You either address it in free agency with a big-time free agent, Danielle Hunter, somebody like that, or you go a high-level draft pick and maybe a really good depth piece as well in that edge. And so I think it's going to be a combination of some things. We have still a lot of positions to fill, even though we got a lot of cap space, and you want to be selective in how you go about that. But I do think that that the Bears are gonna do a mix of veterans and young talent to really seal this home for the Chicago Bears. But I do think those are two position groups, as well as a tackle, a center, which is why I think the Bears want to get into the second round. I think those things are all highly likely for the Chicago Bears this offseason. That was a great voicemail, Greedy. Thank you for that. Let's get into the next one. This one's from Donovan.
What's going on, Haize? What's going on, team? It's your boy Donovan, man. Hey, I'm just doing a deeper dive in the national media debacle that's been going on, just, how they operate and why they do what the fuck they do, and why we advise not to take their opinions and they so-called takes to fucking heart. Like we always say, it's their fucking job to hype everybody up. And pre-draft process, this is where they eat. This is where they lock the fuck in and really start putting out bullshit, because it's their job. And especially when it comes to the quarterback position. Pre-draft process for NFL, what's the NFL's main moneymaker? The quarterback. So they're going to take these quarterbacks and they're going to shoot them up to the moon and really gaslight you as a fan and be like, your team doesn't draft this quarterback, or if your team doesn't draft a quarterback, they're going to be a fucking poverty team until forever and beyond type shit. And we've seen it too many times. And me personally, like, if you waste a pick on a quarterback, that's a waste of a pick. Like, it's literally what it is. If you miss on a quarterback, that's a waste of a pick. Because, like, if you miss on another position, at least temporarily you can get them to do something else on the field. Like, if a quarterback can't quarterback your team, they can't do shit but, like, mentor, or, like, you can use them as a trade chip or something. And if they're not as good, then they're not as good of a trade chip. Like, quarterback like Trey Lance just got traded for a fourth-round pick. And they're happy to get that shit. So it's just like, with other positions, you could, if you got a bad receiver that you thought was going to be good, you at least have him block or something. Or a running back, you at least have him block. Or a defensive player, at least you put him on special team. You can do something with these motherfuckers. But quarterback, you can't do shit with. And they will hype them same motherfuckers, they will hype up to the rooftops. The Josh Rosen, the Trey Lances, the Zach Wilson, the Malik Willises, the Matt Corrals, the Sam Darnolds, the Mitch Trubisky's, like, they will hype them motherfuckers up to the motherfucking moon, and they won't be shit. And the media doesn't give a fuck, because by that time they're on to the next motherfucker that won't be shit. And so it's like, this is a hard quarterback class to judge who won't be shit, because you can't really tell the future. All you can really tell is what you see. It's a lot of good quarterbacks in this class, but this is my draft that just had the goddamn Falcons take J.J. McCarthy at 8. And I just can't. I'm sick of the Bo Nix slander after all. I don't know what y'all don't see in Bo Nix. Bo Nix is a great fucking quarterback to me. I ain't gonna say he's miles better than Penix, but he's much more athletic, less injury prone. Anyways, the media do what they do, man, but I'm a Bears fan, man. Shout out Bears.
Listen, you said it all there. The national media is there to put out BS. That is literally their job. And I love that you worded it as, listen, they're there to push that. They don't care. I had that rant that kind of blew up. They don't care about the Chicago Bears. They don't care about Justin Fields. They don't care about Caleb Williams. They care about the story. But you're right. If you spend a high draft pick on a quarterback and you don't get it right, that thing has no value, right? That sounds bad. The value on quarterbacks whittles very, very quick, right? You can go from a quarterback that's drafted high that people are like, hey, by year 5, you're going to have to pay this guy, to having 1 or 2 bad seasons, and then you're like, you're struggling to find a spot in the NFL, right? So it is hugely important, and that's why it is such a important evaluation that this front office has to do on the next quarterback, because it's a position you just don't want to get wrong. You don't want to get that wrong. So But the national media part of it, like I said, especially for the people who don't watch a lot of football or follow things in and out and maybe just don't have time, they are there to push narratives. They are there to push for clicks, just like some lame content creators. They are there to push clicks, but that is why people like, hopefully you look at us like that. People like Swifty, the Tape Never Lies, even though I'm not really a Tape Never Lies viewer, but even them, you can't doubt that they love the Chicago Bears team, right? Pat over at the Chicago Bears podcast and the Windy City Breeze, right? Those guys, the ones that follow this team and give that level of dedication from their homes in their own personal time, traveling to go to Senior Bowls and see things like that. Those are people that love this team. And while they may have their own personal opinions, but they are there, they're truly out the love, right? They aren't there to push the narratives. They aren't there try to get the clicks. They aren't there to just fizzle out later. We are attached to this Chicago Bears team, and we're going to be for the rest of our lives. Me personally, I've never been a fan of another team. So because of that, I'm always going to rock with it. And Chicago Bears Central, like I said, hopefully gets mentioned at some point with those other places as being one of the outlets for Bears fans to go and get honest, true coverage. You're going to get my opinion, but I'm always going to try to push my opinion as well as what the facts are and let you guys determine it the way that you want to. So thank you for that, Donovan. Always leaving great voicemails, man. But that's the time for today, guys. We'll have another episode out with the Shane Waldron interview, so we'll be breaking that down. But guys, thank you so much. Make sure you're following the show at Chi Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. That's 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.